The first thing that the user is doing actually is opening either the browser, and he will have a screen to authenticate. We call ourselves a zero trust browser. Why? Because we want to authorize and authenticate everything from the user to check the endpoint. So basically, when the user accessing, he authenticates to the browser itself. And we're using, in that space, we're using identity providers, whether it's Okta or Entra ID. And anything that is SAML, basically, we can connect to the browser itself or to the extension. The user is authenticating. On the flight, we're performing device compliance check, because if it's an unmanaged device, we want to make sure that the level of compliance there is in the same, at least, level of the organization that deploying it from a managed device, for example. And the user is authenticating. We do it on the fly. We check if the hard drive encrypted, if there is like registry key, specific key on this endpoint, if there is a specific file or certificate, and even if there is a specific process that is running on that endpoint. And then the user authenticates, and that's kind of the first layer of zero trust, when we authorize and authenticate the user and the device. On the extension, it works the same way. We actually introduced an agent not long time ago that can do device posture scanning as an extension. Whilst extension is on the API level, to the browser, it cannot perform policies or actions together with the endpoint because it's not sitting on the endpoint. And then, because we introduced it agent, it basically is able to do the same things that the browser as an agent can do on the endpoint. And we can also route the whole traffic, we can proxy the traffic, we can do anything in that space that we want, like any other agent on this endpoint. And then the user just, after the authentication, it looks like a normal browser. I can go to any company resource. If I'm using, for example, Okta, I will be SSO'd to the session. If I'm using Entra ID, the same concept, I will have my dashboard, I will access the application, and I will be inside, and I can perform my day-to-day job, basically. Whilst we do that, we can also enforce some policies, like whether the user can copy or paste from a certain page, whether the user can authenticate to his private email account on that browser. And in that way, we're allowing the administrators, the IT administrators, the CISOs, easy way to control what the users are doing with the data of the company. And that way, eliminate the potential risk of internal threat of a user that's stealing the information. And on the other hand, make sure that everything is safe together inside this work environment, workspace.